Hello and welcome to a new video. If you are here, that means you are a lover of all things autumnal, and let me tell you, I have good news. This is the right video for you. With October being fully here and all of the colors of the leaves changing, I just cannot fight the urge to turn myself into a pumpkin. So no, I'm not the first content creator to have come up with this idea, but I think that pumpkins are something we should just celebrate. So I am very excited to make a pumpkin dress. The twist to this is that I'm going to make an Edwardian dress that will look like a pumpkin, and I'm super excited about the idea. Because you know how I always talk about these wide underlayers that are underneath bodices in like Edwardian days that just come up to the neck, and you can just see a little bit of like lace underneath. And my idea was, what if I make an orange dress, but the underlayer is green and it looks like the stem of a pumpkin? And this idea has just been living rent-free in my head, as the kids would say, and I just cannot stop myself from just wanting to do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some orange and green cotton for this. I'm going to use a new skirt pattern, which I'm very excited about. It's this one right here. So they're using a plaid fabric, which makes the ruffle at the bottom look really interesting. Because mine will just be orange, I hope that it still will have this kind of like flared out style and it will look really nice. For the bodice, I am planning to just use my trusted blouse pattern that I use for my Letty dresses, with an Edwardian bishop sleeve. Let me tell you, I love bishop sleeves, but they're just such a nightmare for me to wear in like day-to-day life. So whenever I used to make them, I ended up just selling the things because I'd never reached for them, which is mainly because I happen to live in Emmy design cardigans, and getting a bishop sleeve into this is basically impossible. But this is going to be a costume, so I don't have to think about practicality. So I am going to make bishop sleeves that end in a really nice tight cuff, and the cuff is also going to be green. I'm going to work with some green velvet trims just to make everything like pulled together and nice. So this is the design I've come up with, and I think it's going to look so cute. So let's just jump straight ahead and go into the cutting out phase. Let's take a look at our skirt pattern first. It consists of a front piece, a side front, side back, and then a center back piece. And all of the side pieces as well as the center back piece have a ruffle that go along with it, whereas the front is a little bit longer. And as I was putting out my pieces to cut them out from the fabric, I realized they were actually really, really long. So I had to shorten all of my pieces by at least 2 inches to make them suitable for my short height. Now we move forward and cut out the bodice pieces. So as I said, I'm using my trusted blouse pattern for this, and I'm using it for all of the pattern pieces. I've also used it to cut out a facing, which I'm later going to use to make the kind of scalloped neckline. Then I used the exact same pattern to also cut out the green underlayer. And as you will notice, the front is a little bit shorter here than the orange layer, which is because the orange layer will have a button front, whereas the green layer will have a side opening, so entire front is just one consecutive piece. Good morning. So as you can tell, I don't really have a voice because I've got quite a bad cold, but I really feel like doing a little bit of sewing for my mental health. I just don't think I'll be able to talk to you about what I'm doing, so I'll just leave it to future voiceover Tally to tell you what's happening. We are going to start out by making the skirt, and in order to do that we have to fuse the side front, side back and the center back pieces together, because those pieces will have the ruffle attached to it. And then once that is done, all of these pieces can be attached to the front, and then in the end we're going to fuse the center back seam. Then I finally got to try it on, and obviously it was too big again. I feel like this is just a theme with everything I make, and maybe I'm just really bad at giving seam allowance. But I decided to put some pin tacks into the front panel to make it a little bit smaller, and then I took some more out of the side seams just to fit it better to my waist. Hello. I still haven't fully recovered and it's been like 1.5 weeks, but at least my voice is back enough so I can talk to you guys, even though I still think it sounds weird. It's just so standard. Like, honestly, the moment I sat down in the office and everyone had left and I was just kind of like, oh, I'll just like clean out my office and wait for Jack to pick me up and then I don't have to return, I started feeling my throat getting sore. And I'm just like, how? Like, why couldn't I get ill the week before so I could have taken time off work rather than getting ill during my annual leave? So now I am officially working from home on my PhD thesis and my life has been honestly so great. The other day I was talking to a friend from the lab and she was like talking about something that happened in the lab meeting and I was like, it's like 1 o'clock. Don't you have the lab meeting at 2? And she's like, yeah, but yesterday. She's like, have you completely forgotten like what weekday it is now that you're not coming anymore? And I'm just like, the lab was a different life and I have shed it from me and now I am free. I've overcome the lab work and I've overcome the cold, so we're going straight back into sewing again. Because I have finished the skirt other than it needing a few pressy buttons on the kind of like overlap in the back. So just to put this into relation, so you know what's actually happening, because I know I kind of publish videos in a weird order and film multiple videos at the same time. As I am talking to you, I have also just filmed the We Got the Keys video. Same outfit. So we will be moving in like 1.5 weeks. Hello. I thought I'd just quickly pop on here from where I'm editing my video because when I filmed this, I was very convinced I would be moving next week, which was back then like 2 weeks ago. So yeah, so things with the flat are going very, very slow. And I originally was hoping to post the updated video about renovations and getting the keys and everything this week, but that just didn't work out because I didn't really feel like, you know, posting a video and being like, look, we've started something, come back for part 2 to see the result. But we definitely have to move next week. So let's just keep our fingers crossed that the renovations that need to be done before we move in are actually going to be finished, because otherwise that's going to be really awkward. So the renovation video is coming and I think it might be coming next week. But again, yeah, until then we continue sewing. So you'll get a little bit of early Halloween content this week rather than the flat update. But yeah, let's go back to sewing. Today we are going to work on the bodice. And as I've shown you previously, I've cut out multiple layers of it. So we've got the outer, which is the pumpkin color, the underlayer, which is the green. So I've never done this white underlayer in green, but I think it's gonna look so cute, I hope. So we will just assemble the outer first, and then I've got the additional facing for the neckline of the orange layer, which I will then use to kind of make these pumpkin shapes. When I showed Jack the design, he was like, isn't that gonna be an absolute nightmare to sew? I think probably yes, but I'm hoping that it will still work out okay. So I'm just planning to do the complete outer layer and then sew the facing together and then put them on top of each other and then just kind of draw the pattern on that I want and just stitch along it and then turn it inside out, and that should work. Yeah, a lot of talking. Let's just get straight into doing some sewing so we can actually make some progress today. I'm actually really happy with how this turned out, and I am also surprised that it actually worked out. So the next step will be to iron it all down and give it a top stitch around all of these edges, but I also need to iron some of the green fabric down once it's sewn together, and currently the flat is just not having any space for the ironing board. So I'm thinking I'm just going to prepare everything that needs ironing and then iron it all together and then quickly put the ironing board away again. So what we're going to make next is first of all the green underlayer and the collar, which needs ironing, and then I've got those little funny cuffs that have like a point going downward, which is like something I haven't done before, but I thought it would look cute. So these need to be prepared and ironed before they can be put into the bishop sleeves. So we'll change our yarn to green and continue on sewing. I am truly becoming a pumpkin. I've used the underlayer that was exactly the same cut as the overlayer, but because I've finished off the seams around here so that each edge kind of like is clean, so now there's like a bit of a gap here. So I think I'll have to make a little flap that lies underneath it just so you can't see my skin. But other than that, it worked like surprisingly well. But before we do anything else, I've ordered something and it has just arrived, and I think it might be just like so silly that we have to try it on camera. With this whole pumpkin look, right, it would make sense for me to also have a pumpkin head. And obviously I'm not the first content creator to think of this, but I'm also not like a Rachel Maxey. Like, I'm not very good at making things that aren't sewing, but I'm also not Rebecca, and I don't really like the idea of having like a real pumpkin on my head because that feels very, I don't know, wet. So I've ordered the cheapest and weirdest thing I could find, and it's probably going to look absolutely horrendous. It smells horrendous, that's for sure. It smells very plasticky. But I just thought, if for some reason this gives like the right shape and somewhat works, I could just like paint it a little bit to make it look less cheap. So yeah, let's just try it on and see what it looks like. I'm a bit worried. Oh, this is gonna look so stupid, isn't it? It's not actually as bad as I thought, but you definitely have to be very careful to not like accidentally like squish it in somewhere, because it is very thin. And also it smells like a balloon and I don't like it. I'll have to look at it on screen to see whether it will be in the reveal or whether I'll just maybe skip this. But it was like £9, so I thought I could just give it a try. So I have readjusted all of this for it to sit better, and I've added the little underlayer here so that there's no gap. Also made the sleeves, but the sleeves will be attached to both the underlayer and the orange overlayer, and then they're gonna be quite tight at the cuff, kind of like this. But what I didn't think about properly is that the way the sleeve sits, the dip will be more to the side here than to the middle of the hand, but I guess that doesn't really matter all that much. That is kind of where I'm at. But now to fuse the underlayer to the overlayer, I am going to use brown yarn, and I'm gonna do all the kind of like top stitching around here in the darker color because I want it to pop a little bit. But then I'm also gonna go down here from every single one of these dips to give it those pumpkin ridges, as we have seen with the mask, which also has pumpkin ridges going down here. So I hope that by doing it in the darker thread, it will kind of have that little bit of three-dimensionality to it. It just means that I'll have to be quite clean about my stitches, which should be fine. I'm gonna do those stitches. I'm gonna add in the sleeves. Yeah, that's it, almost. Then I'm gonna go back and decorate with all of my velvet trim. But yeah, a little bit more sewing now. I'm done with sewing for the day, and I actually got much further than I thought. I really thought the bodice would take me ages and I'd be working on it for multiple days. But surprisingly, it is basically finished. Like, I still need to stitch on all of the velvet trims. Oh, Tilly, what are you doing? This isn't going to end well, Tilly. So I still have to stitch on all of the velvet trims, but I think I might do that by hand because I've actually been quite enjoying doing a little bit of hand stitching at night. Just give the skirt another iron because I folded that the other day and now everything's wrinkled again. So I think it actually looks looks really cute. I'm just wondering whether I should do some weathering on the actual fabric, because I think it would make the garment look better but also more costumey. But also I don't actually have any fabric paint, so I'd have to go on with acrylics, but I think that might be a nice thing. So if I do that, I am now going to put in a sequence where I do it. And if I didn't do it, there will be nothing here. But I think I will try to get all of this finished before we move, because then I can still take the dress out by myself into the woods where no one can possibly see me, because I will be embarrassed. But with Halloween approaching, I hope you are all ready for the reveal and to see me turning into a pumpkin, which is my most natural form. I just drove by and I didn't want to give them a fright, so I ripped this off again. This is really awkward. Oh, Jesus Christ! Not stepping on the cable this time. That is the pumpkin dress done, and I actually had so much fun making this, but in retrospect I feel like I should have worn the mask a little bit more for the shooting, because I didn't actually take any pictures of it. I just took that little video sequence and then the car drove by and I was just like, yeah, no thank you. Because there's just some things that look nice on pictures and that you see people do on social media that when you actually do them in real life, you're just like, this is really uncomfortable and awkward, and if anyone sees me, I want to just like fall through the soil and never ever face anyone ever again. So I'm not entirely sure what I'm gonna do with the pumpkin dress now that it's done, because I am not planning to go to any Halloween parties or anything, and I'm also not planning to wear it again until next autumn. So I guess it just goes into my costume storage, which luckily now that we're moving will actually be a little bit bigger compared to now. So I might actually be able to keep costumes for a little bit and maybe wear it again next year. But I'm thrilled to hear what kind of costumes you have planned for Halloween this year. Maybe you are gonna be a pumpkin as well. And chances are very good that the next time we see each other in like a sewing environment, we're gonna be in the new flats. So please bear with me if the walls are suddenly bright yellow or like obnoxiously blue, because the flat is very colorful and not very our colors yet. So we'll have to work on that very quickly so I can get a nice backdrop again. But I hope you have a lovely Halloween. If you enjoyed this content, as always, make sure to follow so you can see future shenanigans that we're up to on here, which include renovation content and obviously sewing content and just, yeah, me being awkward. So hopefully I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye.